Where can you hear a world premiere performance from renowned international performers at a new venue? Well, you can hear that at the Missouri Chamber Music Festival in its 16th annual season. More on St. Louis in Tune. Welcome to St. Louis in Tune, and thank you for joining us for fresh perspectives on issues and events with experts, community leaders, and everyday people who make a difference in shaping our society and world. I'm Arnold Stricker, along with co-host Mark Langston, who is on assignment. We're glad that you joined us today. We want to thank our sponsor, Better Rate Mortgage, for their support of the show. You can listen to previous shows at stlintune.com, where you can follow us and even leave a review. Our thought to ponder today. Music expresses that which cannot be put into words and that which cannot remain silent. Music expresses that which cannot be put into words and that which cannot remain silent. I've found that in my own life whenever I'm going through something or I'm just kind of cruising along in life, or even when I'm playing an instrument, that it really expresses things that I cannot verbally get out of my mouth. And that quote was by Victor Hugo. And what relates to Victor Hugo and that particular quote is our guest this morning. Nina Ferrigno is the executive director of Missouri Chamber Music and the Festival. She's also a pianist, the founding member of the Boston-based Calyx Piano Trio, and she's here to talk to us about the 16th season for the Missouri Chamber Music Festival. Welcome back, Nina.
Hi, Arnold. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you back again, because I was really intrigued by this deep connection between poetry and music, because the theme is hope is the thing with music. Where did you come up with that, and why this year?
Well, that's a hard question in terms of why this year, but I've always been just very drawn to and moved by the poetry of Emily Dickinson, and in kind of course, that "Hope is the Thing with Music" is a play on one of her poems, which I believe "Hope is the Thing with Wings," and she's fascinating to me as a woman, as a person, and an artist. She was writing all these poems and never thought to publish them. You know, they were very private. We only know of her poetry, I believe it was a family member, a sister, after she passed away, who found literally, hundreds, if not thousands of her poems.
Wow.
And her poetry really illuminates themes of nature, immortality, inner life, and we see this with musicians, with composers that were also in a different art form,
right,
trying to explore those themes as well. So this year was just a kind of a coming together of that connection between poetry and music. And of course, we see that in our songs that we hear, pop
right.
songs. There's always the lyric and the line intertwining. And here it's just a little more, shining a spotlight on a very specific corner of it.
Sounds great. And we're going to get into that connection between what you said about Emily Dickinson and the selection of music. Mm-hmm. But first, the question I have for you is, you've said this in an interview, that for me this season marks a real turning point. In what way?
Well, in a couple of ways. I actually have a new title for myself with the organization, which is artistic director. Because
congratulations!
Thank you very much. The festival was very, very lucky to have found through a national job search a new managing director. She began in February. Her name is Aviva Hakanoglu, and she's a wonderful violinist in the Euclid String Quartet, and she's really helping with our day-to-day operations and getting behind what we do and shoring up the infrastructure so that I can be, looking forward to more years ahead with our artistic vision and our development as an organization here in St. Louis. So that feels like a turning point for me. But the other thing is the partnership with the Sheldon, which is new for us this year. We will also be there next year.
Congratulations on both of those. But, the first one, which I want to delve into a little bit more, but the second one is great. That venue there at the Sheldon is wonderful.
Yes, and it's been really exciting this year, just knowing that we have a home for all the concerts, and so the flow of the performances from one to the next. Kind of having that foundation of one place, and of course that place, because it's just one of the premier performing halls here that we have in St. Louis. So I'm very excited about that.
Now, I can't imagine, you've been, gosh, how long have you been playing piano? Since you were 3 or 4?
Not that long, but probably 6, 9. I had formal lessons at 9, but okay. I came from a musical family, so I was playing around.
And your degree is in music. Mm-hmm. You've been performing, so then you have to manage some aspects of a festival, which are the nitty-gritty details, which takes you away from the artistic aspect of kind of why you went into what you're doing anyway. And I can really see that it's going to free you. So future concerts like the 25th anniversary of MOCM is going to be like outstanding, because you'll have all this time to really devote in the future. So when that was going to happen, were you like this great weight relieved off your shoulders, and it's like, finally I can really focus in on the artistic aspects and really delve into them? And it's not like you haven't been drawing world-class artists in any way, but still,
It's very much like, for me, hope is the thing with music, because we're not there 100% yet, because everything in the festival is right up between my ears here. I carry a lot of that. And so these last, it's really just been a matter of weeks that Aviva and I have been kind of working together, and I'm able to show her what it is we've done, what it is we want to do, and then let her
run with it.
Yeah. And then, of course, it's so exciting to have just a musician who's so intimately attuned to chamber music and knows exactly what, for lack of a better word, our product is, and knows how to communicate all the excitement behind the concerts and the vision and the performers and everything. And that's the thing that I'm most looking forward to, is through this new, walking through this new door, being able to let more and more people know about the festival and try and find more creative ways to get people to come experience this not only great music, but these wonderful performers. There's just an energy, a visceral feeling of live performance of any genre that you just can't recreate. So
folks, you can't miss these. I want to give out the website. The website is mochambermusic.org, mochambermusic.org, and we'll talk more about where you can get tickets. Unpack the concert a little bit, or the festival, I should say, because it does run, folks, from June 10th through the 21st. And again, as Nina mentions, it's at the Sheldon Concert Hall. There are 4 specific concerts, and the first one we've had Benedetta in studio also previously. Let's unpack each concert a little bit so people can understand, because they can do a whole series. They can do all 4, or they can do individuals if they can't make 1 or 2 of those.
Exactly. Yes. So all manner of tickets. Our festival pass is. We're selling those online at our website, www.missourichambermusic.org. And that's a wonderful deal, I actually have to say. Even if you can't come to all 4 concerts, if you buy the festival pass and give your tickets to friends who can come when you can't come, it's really a very good deal. And single tickets are also on sale on the website, or through a link from the Sheldon, if you happen to go there. Each concert So the first concert is a morning concert on
it's June the 10th
at 10:30, and we're calling it Upon Enchanted Ground. And basically, it's weaving poetic introspection, vivid musical storytelling, and sweeping lyricism through the pieces that are programmed. So we're doing with Benedetta Orsi selections from Aaron Copland's 12 poems of Emily Dickinson, which are really fascinating pieces. They're not the Copland of Appalachian Spring or Rodeo, but they're just as special and pure and beautiful, and it's very exciting. And we're programming a couple pieces on the festival this season by an Italian cellist named Giovanni Solima, and he. I've had the great good fortune of playing one of these pieces a bunch of years ago. And on the first concert is his sonnets and rondo for string quartet. And the pieces are so interesting to me because he almost writes in this neo-Baroque kind of way for strings, yet it's incredibly modern and it's super lyrical and it's very exciting. And rounding out that program is the Fauré Piano Quartet in C minor, Opus 15, which is just one of the cornerstone pieces of chamber music in our Western classical literature, and it's glorious in every way. And I'm very excited to collaborate with Hannah G. and Nathan Lowry on violins, Sixto Franco on viola, and as we mentioned, Benedetta will be singing the Copland. Our second concert, June 15th at 7 p.m., is we're titling Musicians Wrestle Everywhere. And this is a direct quote from an Emily Dickinson poem, "Musicians wrestle everywhere, all day among the crowded air." And it's also the title of a piece by Judith Weir for 10 musicians. And in this piece, she was really inspired by her like noisy London neighborhood and realizing that the struggle that we hear of everyday life, the noise, can become music to us, you know. That's very exciting that we're doing a piece so large. When we get above a certain number of musicians on stage, we are helped by a conductor. And so I'm so excited to be able to welcome back to Boston James Somerville, who will be conducting. And many people may know Jamie as he was the former principal horn player for many, many years of the Boston Symphony, and has also been building a career as a conductor. And so it's super exciting to have someone who is so intimately attuned to chamber music himself, then as our conductor for
so
this.
A question I can hear our listeners asking is, when is the difference between chamber music to like a small quote unquote orchestra? What do you know? What is like the is it a number? Is it the?
It's typically like we think of chamber music as 2 to 10 players. There are exceptions to that, but. And really any larger number can be chamber music. It's just you need to really live and breathe and rehearse a lot together.
Gotcha.
So having one central music director for something like this, it helps us streamline. But it's also very collaborative because when we're getting, it's not. He's not conducting 100 people where nobody has a say. Right. So this is the fun part, too, that we're able to say, hey, I'd like to take more time there. What do you think about that? Right. And can we make that happen? Or can we try it and see what we all think about that?
The conductor actually becomes another quote-unquote musician in the ensemble.
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. so it's like
sorry to
getting the
interrupt
benefit.
there.
Oh no, that's fine. And also on that concert will be we're featuring some just beautiful English works. So Vaughan Williams, 6 Studies in English Folk Songs for cello and piano. Rebecca Clark, Prelude, Allegro, and Pastoral for clarinet and viola. Another piece by Giovanni Salima. This is the one that I had the benefit of performing, although I'm not playing it this year, which is called Short Trio Stories, and that's for flute, cello, and piano. And then the Judith Weir Musicians Wrestle Everywhere for 10 players. And I'm excited to, in the Weir, we get to branch out into some brass instruments. So we have trombone and horn and percussion. And performing on that concert will be Nadine Herr, flute, Yelena Dirks, oboe, Robert Walker, clarinet, Tsuying Huang, bass clarinet, Sixto Franco, viola, Davin Rubitz, cello, Brendan Fitzgerald, bass, Shen Wen, piano, Kevin Rittenauer, percussion, Julie Thayer, horn, and Amanda Stewart, trombone.
Okay. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. We're talking to Nina Ferrigno, the artistic director of the Missouri Chamber Music Festival, mochambermusic.org, and we're talking about the 16th season. We've already delved into the first 2 concerts. That second concert, folks, is Monday, June 15th at 7 p.m. at the Sheldon. The first concert is a morning concert, June the 10th at 10:30. So here we go to concert number 3, which is a well-known string quartet in the St. Louis metropolitan area. It will be Wednesday, June 17th at 7 p.m. There is a theme here, folks. And I'll let Nina take it away.
Sure. So the last 2 concerts on the 17th at 7 and the 21st of June at 7 are both highlighting long-standing partnerships. So thrilled to be able to bring the Arianna String Quartet into the Missouri Chamber Music Festival under the umbrella there, and feature them in this third concert. We're doing Augusta Reed Thomas's Upon Wings of Words, which is definitely directly taken from Emily Dickinson poetry. So we're celebrating that longstanding artistry with the Ariannas. They'll also be performing the String Quartet number 1 in D major by Tchaikovsky.
They've been on your venue before.
Not as a quartet.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Individuals, maybe?
Individuals, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've broken them up. But
conquer and divide.
Yes, exactly.
Divide and conquer.
But the other exciting thing is that during that week of the festival, the Ariannas are themselves hosting a festival for young string quartets. So it's and what we will be offering is at 6 o'clock on the 17th, a chance to hear some of those featured string quartets from the Arianna String Quartet seminar that they
So these will be young artists who will be performing.
Yes, and I think they're high school going into first few years of college, and so it's really exciting to be able to see what young quartets are doing and celebrate the work that they're doing here in St. Louis with the Ariannas during this special week. So we're excited about that.
Now, I did mention that Arianna String Quartet is well known in the St. Louis metropolitan area, but they are internationally known.
Yes,
this isn't just like, 4 people getting together from University of Missouri St. Louis and gigging out here.
Exactly.
No, they are well known internationally.
Absolutely, and so we're so excited to be able to.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And the last concert of our season 16 of MOCAM is There's a Certain Slant of Light, and this concert features the Calyx Piano Trio, of which I'm the pianist of. So my colleagues, Catherine French, violin, and Jennifer Luck, cello, will be coming from Boston. And on this concert, we will be premiering a Missouri Chamber Music Festival commissioned work by composer David Werfelman, and it's called Memoria. And I think of this concert as really closing the season with brilliance in the sense of the Beethoven Piano Trio in G major, Opus 1, number 2, which is just this lovely, spicy little ditty, and the Elena Katz.
Those are musical terms.
Yes. And the Elena Katz Chernin piece called Calliope Dreaming, which
that sounds interesting.
It's really, really great. And so one of the things that David has shared with me about the piece, which of course I'm actually going to be leaving next week to go to Boston so we can begin working on it. And it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. But what he has said to me when he sent me the score, he said, this piece has turned into something very special to me. It's got a lot of personal sentiment that I'm eager to share with you and the ensemble. And a more formal description that he's provided is Memoria is a piano trio in 5 movements, each exploring a different side of what it means to remember. Memory can be fragmentary, contradictory, sometimes vivid, and sometimes just out of reach. This complexity informs the piece, giving each movement its own character and emotional arc. And I'm grateful to be writing for the Calyx Trio.
Wow, it's very interesting, and I would say rare that a composer will open up like that, and it's kind of like pull the curtain back and reveal their feelings, if I would say that, or their the inspiration behind why they're writing. I think back to, let's go back to Beethoven, the piano trio. What was going on in his mind when he was writing this particular piece? And it's something we can delve into later, but I interrupted. Keep going about David Werfelman.
Oh, well, what's so exciting for me with what David has shared is like this, I've often thought, memory is very emotional, right? And so then becomes untrustworthy, I think, the further away you get from it. And I love this idea of, being able to, through music, express that, right? So thinking, what is real? What is it that we remember from situations?
Right. Yeah, there was a quote that I wanted to use at our Thought to Ponder, which was often attributed to Leopold Stokowski, which is a painter paints pictures on canvas, but musicians paint their pictures on silence. And like you were talking about memories, and we don't want to remember the bad memories. We kind of put those out, and maybe we elevate ourselves in the good memories a little bit more than we should, but memories are memories however they come out. And how long has he been working on this piece? When did you ask him to commission this, and did you give him the Emily Dickinson background, or sometimes all it takes is new perspective to offer hope and light?
Well, it was... yes. I mean, we've been talking about this for more than a year.
Okay.
So the commission was set down probably February of 25, where we... Just
so people understand, these are things that people pull out of their back pocket, and then a composer writes it up, in a couple of weeks, and it's ready to go. I just want to clarify that with our listeners.
You're kidding, right? But David... is a colleague, and so I had the good fortune of being able to have some, let's go for coffee and talk about things, and being able to, when I'm commissioning composers and commissioning them for the festival, I don't want to influence in the sense that I don't really say, like, can you write a piano trio? I'll say, we can make these things happen up to,
this
up
point.
to like up to 10 players
right.
or something like that, although this was much more contained. And so David, I was thrilled when he wanted to write for the trio.
Cool.
And felt inspired to do so. And it's exciting too, because the trio didn't set its program until we knew what David's piece was going, like the length of it and maybe some of the tone of it. Okay. So,
and your colleagues have seen the score?
Oh yes, we've shared all that.
Have you played together on it?
Not yet. We're next Tuesday.
Okay.
So when I fly out, we have rehearsal that night, and we have 4 rehearsals in a 5-day span, and then come back. Now
these are professionals, folks. They can do that.
Yes.
They can hone that well. And has David been at the festival before?
No, David. He was the composition professor at Webster University.
Okay.
He's been pursuing other things, so he's left that position. But he has been commissioned by other groups in the area, Chamber Project St. Louis, and he just writes incredibly beautiful music. He's really wonderful.
Okay. Wow. So, folks, we've got the Missouri Chamber Music Festival's 16th annual season here, 16th annual festival, and it's June 10th through the 21st, and it's in partnership with the Sheldon. You can get season tickets from the website, which is mochambermusic.org. Those tickets come through Eventbrite. And as Nina was saying, even if you can't do all the season, it's probably a great bargain to buy the season ticket rather than buy the individual tickets, which also can be purchased through the website. So we're talking June the 10th through the 21st at the Sheldon, which is 3848 Washington Avenue. And hope is the thing with music. That is the theme. Hope is the thing with music. And the single tickets are $30. The 4-concert festival pass is $100. So there you go, folks. Student tickets, $10 with an ID. How do you come about getting all the musicians with the festival?
Well, that's an interesting question. It is very synthesized for me. So a lot of my programming is imagining certain voices playing. So it's rare when I'm putting something together and then I think, and I need a trombone, and I need a such and such, So it's more that, even this year, I will share with our musicians like what I'm thinking about for next year and see, if they would like to play and
Okay, all right.
But I have a lot of people just who really most of the musicians I know are very committed to. They're very committed to exploring, right? Exploring beyond. Exploring the depth of what a piece has to offer and exploring process in terms of working with new composers or working with new types of sounds. We've done some pieces that have had electronics and pieces that have required us to play other instruments than our own while we're playing. And I just think, to have this group of musicians that are all curious in the same manner that I am, but also have such a high standard of excellence in their own playing, and their integrity is amazing. So it's really, I feel so fortunate.
I can imagine some of the symphony performers also like, hey, I'd like to get into some chamber music too, because it's a whole other vibe from the whole orchestra. Well,
yes, and I mean the symphony musicians are incredible, and they're wonderful to, and they seek out chamber music experiences. I think, of course, they're featured through their organization in but it's a different thing when they can add so much.
Right.
I think like it's almost like they're, last year you might remember that Kevin Rittenauer, the percussionist, really programmed the Mokum concert and featured the pieces with flower pots and all these just amazing creative works for percussion. And that was just, I think, I don't want to speak for him, but I think that was an exciting thing for him to be able to be like, this is your concert.
Yeah, it gets him excited.
Yeah. And to be really able to display himself, like perform the way he wants to be heard. Mm-hmm. So that's another part of it.
And there's different times when musicians are exploring different aspects of music too. So maybe when I'm going to focus on the standard literature, the classics, or I'm going to focus on some new literature, and they really go to that direction, and that's where they are, and some kind of weave back and forth.
And we always strive, I always strive to have that blend of old and new, because I'm super interested in connection. If we didn't have the early Beethoven piano trio, we wouldn't have the Elena Katz-Chernin Calliope Dreaming, which is just, they're all
linked together.
Yeah. You have to know your history to appreciate where you are now.
So we're going to take a brief break because I want to talk to Nina about her history of music and reveal some things, maybe folks that you don't even know. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. Don't go away. Everyone in St. Louis promises a better mortgage rate, but what you really need to turn that perfect house into your dream home is a better mortgage. At Better Rate Mortgage, we open the door to so much more. Whether you're purchasing your first home or taking cash out to make your dream home even dreamier, our door is open. Come on in and get started today. We'll show you how. Call Sean directly at 314-375-3293 or online at betterratemortgage.com. Remember, at Better Rate Mortgage, a better rate is just the beginning. betterratemortgage.com. NMLS ID 2401335, an equal housing lender. Welcome back to St. Louis in Tune. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston. We're talking to Nina Ferrigno. She is the artistic director of the Missouri Chamber Music Festival and a pianist and founding member of the Boston-based Calyx Piano Trio. So, Nina, who did you listen to when you were growing up? What music were you into? Sometimes people think, well, she's a concert pianist. She plays in this famous trio. She was probably never listening to rock or, Frank Sinatra or anything like that.
Well, actually, my dad was a jazz pianist.
Really?
Yes, but also a classically trained composer. And my mother was a flutist. And so we were predominantly listening to show tunes, and jazz in the house, but also Bartók string quartets. And it was very eclectic, and then when I started to get into really being excited and serious about the piano, I think I listened one summer every day to the Tchaikovsky Piano Concerto, as this is sort of ritual for pianists that I was listening to. I was always listening to Rubinstein and Horowitz and my sort of local inspirations in Boston. And when I got into high school, I was never that. I had good girlfriends who would say, "Listen to this,"
right?
So this was the '80s, and my first rock concert was The Cure.
Okay.
So I was into more alternative.
Okay.
Yeah, but.
Now, you mentioned listening to certain individuals playing the piano, which gets back to, there's lots of people who are probably playing certain pieces, but you wanted to hone in on those specific artists that you would glean what from?
Well, for Alicia Della Rocca, it was Mozart. These were people that you just sort of linked with these different composers.
They kind of specialized with the composer?
Yeah. And now that I'm an adult, I don't know how fair that was. And of course, I listened to Alicia Della Rocca for a lot of things. With Rubinstein, Schumann, and Chopin, and Gould for Bach, Andras Schiff for Bach, just a lot of kind of studying of what were they doing with Baroque ornamentation, and what were the freedoms that, so a lot of listening there with Bach, especially Wanda Landowska on the harpsichord, just really... Yeah, those were kind of the years of studying, though.
Okay.
That's one thing I should say. I think in our modern age, and I talk a lot with other musicians who are my age or older, that we see students not really listening in the same way. I mean, we had a listening library at my school that you were there. You were
put the headphones
studying,
on, rolled.
Yeah, and you were studying. You knew who you were studying. I think, probably young people would argue with me that they're like, hey, we're listening, we're watching on YouTube. But it's not always the discernment. It's like, oh, I want to study that piece. I want to hear how it sounds. And they'll just pull up anybody playing it. And which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But, if you can... I would encourage then, let's compare and contrast 3 performances of that piece. Right. Then, you take somebody's, undergrad recital that's on YouTube, but also compare it to somebody else,
Can be done with orchestras also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I used to I was at the point where in my undergrad, I could identify the Cleveland Orchestra from the 50s. By just hearing the recordings. I knew, especially their like Stravinsky. Right. I would be like, oh, that's,
Because only a lot of times certain orchestras played certain composers. They were kind of locked into them, I think, a little bit more.
But it was just such a distinctive sound, too, and probably distinctive in the recording production, too.
So when did you say, I want to make a living playing piano?
I would say I have an older sister who's a violinist, and when Lisa went off to school, and it was a decision for her, like she was very academically brilliant, and thinking, do I want to go to a conservatory or do I want to go to university? I think even for Lisa, it wasn't about not studying music, but just in what environment. And she ended up going to the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. And I think, being the younger kid that I was, I just was like, oh, that's what we do. We go to conservatory. So that's what I did. But
and you went to Boston?
Yeah, I went to New England Conservatory of Music for both my bachelor's and master's.
Okay.
And and once you're there and you realize that you can spend all day studying music. I mean, I loved it all. I loved my medieval music history class. I loved my sight singing, and I always loved chamber music. That was just a thing. I had been doing that in high school and entering competitions with other colleagues. And
speak a little bit to what goes on in a chamber music performance, like when you're performing either with the trio or with, maybe there's a string quartet. It's a quintet, obviously. Then, but if you've ever observed these things, there's considerable eye contact. There's usually someone who kind of takes the lead on entrances or something like that. Discuss a little bit about what goes into that in practices and what you all talk about, because I want listeners to understand that, I'm going to go to these concerts June 10th through the 21st, and I'm going to hear that sounds great, but there's so much more that goes on in the background that people may not be aware of.
Yeah, well, when you're preparing to play chamber music with people, I think, you're perfecting your part so that when you get together, you're listening. You're able to listen. That's one thing already to expect, is that each person individually on their part is incredibly polished, so that when you're seeing it on the stage together, it's really not that I'm like listening to myself and glorifying in what I'm doing, but I'm actually listening to what my colleagues are doing. When you're, I remember this from, I probably played in my first chamber group when I was about 12 or something, and different instructors would say, when you have the theme, stand up. And so that was a way with young people to guide, like, oh, you may think, because you're doing something hard or you're doing something, interesting to you, that it's the thematic material, but it's not, right? So that's what the joy is of coming together, is that you get to enjoy your colleagues' artistry right next to you and support that. Especially playing the piano, there are long periods where I'm very accompanimental, and I need to be flexible to the individual voices around me. So what you were saying about, there's a lot of eye contact, and sometimes we have to decide who's giving what, who's leading, and
who's
how.
giving the cue.
Right. And that's all dictated by the music, really. So what is the music asking of us? Who is playing the transitional material that's then going to require the next shift in mood or tempo? And so that becomes, so in a way it becomes a little seamless. It's not like we say, all right, draw, whoever gets the short stick has to give the upbeat, it's, it becomes,
right.
But it's just that, and I've probably said this before, playing your instrument, like studying the piano, where you're alone for so long. And as a kid, even though I loved it, I always craved just that camaraderie of being part of a group, big group, small group. I did a great bit of my career as an ensemble pianist for Boston Modern Orchestra Project, Boston Symphony, St. Louis Symphony, Chicago Symphony. So, being the pianist in a large group like that is so exciting, not because anything you're doing is like so particularly exciting. There's a lot of counting measures on your hand of rest, but just to be in the middle of that is incredible.
Yeah, that's an experience.
It's incredible. And to see what people are doing, what they have to do, like where the piano typically is in the orchestra, you're kind of like next to the horns and percussion, and it's just a thrill. It was always a thrill. Yeah.
That's cool. We've been talking to Nina Ferrigno. She is the artistic director of the Missouri Chamber Music Festival and founding member of the Boston-based Calyx Piano Trio. Folks, you can check them all out at the Missouri Chamber Music Festival's 16th season, June the 10th through the 21st. That's in partnership with the Sheldon. Go to mochambermusic.org, mochambermusic.org, and you can get information on tickets. Nina, thanks for coming in today. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much, Arnold. I really appreciate having me in and letting me talk about the festival.
We're great to have you here, and it's always fun to talk music here on St. Louis in Tune. Folks, we're glad that you have listened to us, and that's all for this hour. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can listen to additional shows at stlintune.com, where you can follow us and even leave a review. I want to thank Bob Berthasell for our theme music, our sponsor, Better Rate Mortgage. our guest Nina Ferrigno, and co-host Mark Langston, who is on assignment. And we thank you for being a part of our community of curious minds. St. Louis in Tune is a production of Motif Media Group and the U.S. Radio Network. Remember to keep seeking, keep learning, walk worthy, and let your light shine. For St. Louis in Tune, I'm Arnold Stricker.